Good evening, paranormal community. Thank you for partaking here on the Odyssey Files. I'm your host, Michael, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Mr. David Soren. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, Mike. Good evening, paranormal fans of this amazing show that we do every Sunday for 2 hours.
Or future potential fans.
Yeah, or future fans.
Because they could be listening to they could choose this show to be the first show they ever listen to.
Well, okay, but you're going to be spoiled. If this is the first show you ever listen to, I'm sorry, but you're going to be spoiled because you're going to listen to the show, then, and this is nothing against anybody else, but you're going to listen to this show, and then you're going to start wandering through paranormal talk, and you're going to be like, whatever, and you're going to wind yourself right back here. Because not only is it educational, but it's entertaining, right? We hit some deep topics, a lot of personal beliefs. I think we give some pretty savvy advice on people that have serious questions and concerns about what's happening in their lives, whether it be a haunting or something maybe not so smart that they did, right? I mean, we get those questions, right? Like, hey, I did this. What do you, and this happened. What do you guys think? And we tackle those too.
Yes, we do. I just want to apologize for not being on last week as we originally were going to. I don't want to point any fingers, but it was all Dave's fault.
I'm not believing that in any way, shape, or form, but okay.
It doesn't matter.
If it makes you feel better, okay.
Doesn't matter. I said it first.
Okay.
So,
it's all my fault.
Completely not pointing fingers, but it's all Dave's fault.
But not pointing fingers, but it was Dave who wasn't prepared.
Exactly. So again, thank you to the new Subspace Odyssey Radio for having us as part of their platform as well now, and not to take any listeners away from them. Don't want to do that. Very happy if you're listening the replay or whatever as it's on their network. But if you ever want to come and join us live, we do the show obviously every Sunday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Central on our Facebook page and YouTube pages. So hope that you will come and join us there. And then, as Dave said, once you realize we are the full Monty, the whole kit and caboodle of Paranormal Talk Radio.
I will say this, right? There is an occasional slip where we don't have the best of shows. It's still, there's still good information in there. You just have to kind of roll with it until you get to the part where you're looking, where the meat is. That happens. It happens to the best of us.
You see,
for the most part, though.
And that is where the joy of the show comes in, because we just spent the last 5 minutes with our ego way up here, and then bam, bring it down with a little, sometimes we suck.
Right. Of our 200 and what are we at? 260. 260. Okay. Of our 260 shows, I can honestly say there's probably 10 right off the top of my head that I know are shit. And I wouldn't recommend that you go back and watch them unless you want to laugh and watch somebody fumbling through trying to understand what the hell they're doing.
Other
than that, I think there's 250 that are pretty rock solid.
I do not have 10 that I think are terrible. I don't
say terrible. By today's standards,
okay,
they're a little weak.
We're a lot better now than when we were rookies.
Right.
All right. So, I was just saying that the great thing about the show is, like me, this is how I'm described, is every time you think you know the answer, we change the question.
Ooh. That was deep. That's a deep way to open the show right there.
Well, I'm the philosophical one here. I'm the philosophical and the comic relief, and you are the meaty center of of knowledge and support.
Okay, I'll take that.
All right. Well, we got a great show. Anyway,
We do it.
Enough of that. But
I pulled up my.
we
1 second.
we have some. Yeah, I'm going to continue to talk.
I was going to say, it would help if I pulled up our questions for tonight.
Yes, indeed. So we have another great set of questions and stories for you guys. And then hour 2, we are going to tackle the topic of blood sacrifices.
Yeah.
In religion and in magic. So we have some stuff that's very informative, some stuff that's very funny. So we
are all over the board with that.
So. Yes, there's a little bit of everything for everyone. So stay tuned for that the second hour. But first, we have our stories. So let's hop right into them because we have 7 and we never get through them all. So here we go. Number 1. I saw my dead friend. It's a great way to start it out.
That's a great. Yep. I was going to say that's not even a question. That's just a statement of fact.
So here it goes. I was fully sober, fully awake. He was standing next to my door with his head down. He had hung himself. He looked up at me and I recognized his outline, but he had glowing yellow eyes, like no pupils. They were like lights. I could feel him around me. He sends me music and such. I've done some research on this, and most imply that it is a demon masking as my friend. But I know for a fact he is still here. Any feedback is welcome. I'd like to contact him further beyond music and him moving things and letting my dog out of her kennel. Good or bad, what do you guys think? Oh boy. So as I read this and started to read and got like halfway through, anytime I read these, I try to formulate my answer as I'm reading. And I'm like, I don't have anything good to say about this. And then I got like a little bit later where I'd like to contact him further beyond music and then him moving things and letting my dog out of her kennel. My questions for this person revolve around, 1, how do you know for a fact that it's your friend? Mm-hmm. Like that's quite the statement right there. For a fact that it's your friend. You just saw an outline of him. You know, you say he looked up at me and I saw him, but it's just his outline, except his glowing yellow eyes. So as much as Lordy, mark this date on the calendar. Mark this date on the calendar because I honestly think he might actually be dealing with a negative entity. Only because
Jesus, you're right. Mark this down. Where the hell's my pen and paper?
It's just one of those things where nothing that you have said would seem to me to be how a friend would reach out to you. Mm-hmm. I'm deceased. I'm going to go visit my friend. I know. I'll let the dog out of the kennel. Mm-hmm. To me, as I got to that point, it seemed like this is the donkey in the carrot. Like it's trying to confuse you enough so that you will do exactly what you want to do, which is reach out further, communicate further, invite it in, thinking that it is your friend. If it is your friend, it would do a hell of a lot more and very specifically more than sending music. I don't even know what you mean. Like you get up and then like Mozart is playing. Like I don't understand what I mean by it's my friend is sending me music.
I don't either. I'm thinking maybe like a song that they like together comes on the radio and they're taking that as a sign would be my guess as to what that means.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't think that's not paranormal. That's just the radio station putting that song in sequence and playing it because it's a popular tune.
Yeah.
For the most part, unless it's a really unique like song you never hear on the radio, then I would say something weird might be going on with that.
Yeah.
some obscure music that you never would hear in mainstream music.
Yeah.
Then something weird's going on. But
the fact that it can move things and let your dog out of the kennel, that's a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's being focused in shit that's not directed at you. So I have a hard time believing that he can't fully, your friend cannot fully manifest himself, or he can't speak to you, or he can't talk to you directly or visit you in a dream, but he can let your dog out, and he can send music, and he can do all this other stuff that just it's meant to pique your curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
So for me personally, let your friend go. I kind of used a Star Trek line to Dave right before we came on the air, and I'm going to use another one, only this time it's going to be Yoda. Train yourself to let go of all that you stand to lose. You need to let go of your friend. And I think once you do that, and whatever this entity is will either up its game to the point where you will know fully well that you're not dealing with your friend, or will leave because it's not going to get what it wants from you. But I don't believe that it is your friend.
I concur. I concur with you. Here's the thing that I question when I first read this, when I was looking at it, was he's standing in the doorway with his head down, but he hung himself. So if you hang yourself, when you go like this, your head's not down, your head would be stretched and it would be up. So that, to me, that doesn't make sense. I don't know if he just threw that he hung himself in there obscurely and it's just in the wrong place. I don't know. Maybe that's the case. But the fact that he recognized his outline, to me, that says that that's not your friend. That statement right there, to me, stands out and says it's not your friend. It's something that's trying to mimic your friend, but it's not your friend. The yellow eyes, my question to this person would have been, did you freak out? Did you run? Did you get up and slam the door closed? What did you do? He didn't say like what his response was. I'd be very, very curious to see what his response was. If you want, like Mike said, if you want to go down that route, something with yellow eyes, I would say would be something probably not friendly. It wouldn't be your friend. It would be something else that's trying to look like your friend and trying to open up a door to you for some reason. And I agree with Mike. Close the damn door. Just close the door. If it really is your friend, he'll come back in a different way, much more as your friend, not as this silhouette thing with these yellow eyes. I would think that he would come back in a more positive way. And if you really want him to be there and you really want to have some type of relationship and you can't let him go and you want him to stick around, then speak out loud and ask for certain things. Like, just say, I don't want to see you standing in my doorway with yellow eyes, because that's not how I remember you. And I don't want, you're making me uncomfortable. So if you want to be around me still and be like, I don't know, maybe like he thinks is his guardian angel. I don't know, but if you want to be around me, do so in a positive fashion. Don't stand in my doorway with yellow eyes freaking me out. And the fact that the guy hung himself, I guess, from my standpoint, it's not your friend. Because, my beliefs, obviously, if you kill yourself, you're going to hell. So I would say if the guy took his own life, it's not him,
Well, on that note,
that's just a personal belief. So, that's
no. I got it. Before we get into the next story, I can't believe we didn't mention this. Major apologies for us, but it is May 14th,
Oh yeah,
2023. It is Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
So even though for those of you who are listening, not on Mother's Day,
Right.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Absolutely.
Both past and present, for the ones who have passed on, like my mother and my grandmother. But also, and I don't think that this gets any, and I believe this for Father's Day as well, to any single parents out there who, the fathers who are taking care of the kids because the mother, has died or the mother left or, whatever, who are taking the mother responsibilities. Happy Mother's Day to you too.
I think single dads don't get enough respect.
Agreed. But on this
day,
tonight. They are tonight.
They are tonight.
To all the mothers and single dads out there, Happy Mother's Day. Keep up the great work.
Absolutely.
And we will now ignore you until next year.
Very highly unlikely that my mom will ever hear this, but Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
That's right.
I already called her. I'm a good son. I called her, wished her Happy Mother's Day.
That's
Checked
right.
in with her, see how she's doing. Everything seems to be okay. So, but I doubt that she will see this, but who knows? Maybe she'll surprise the hell out of me.
Maybe. So just want to throw that in there before we forgot. Before we went any further, we didn't say anything. So
right.
All right.
Exactly.
Story number 2.
Story number 2. Can a spirit enter a house during an estate sale? Question. We just finished a 4-day estate sale in my mother's house, who is living, and they called her a hoarder. My sister and I ran it. Since the sale, we've had 3 stair-related injuries in the house. My mother swears that it felt like the railing disappeared and reappeared. I'm assuming that means that your mother was one of the accidents. My husband and I told my sister that we were thinking of buying the house, and we were all set on that idea. Then, after the estate sale, I began to get sick to my stomach every time I thought about purchasing the house. I admitted my misgivings to my sister, and she lit up and told me that my mom had told her about a premonition that something terrible would happen if we bought the house. In quote, she's very religious. She thinks that something was attached to a person at the estate sale and stayed in the home. Is this something that could happen? And then she concludes this with, now, of course, moving related injuries occur more frequently when moving. That obviously makes 100% common sense. So with that in mind, should we move forward with buying the house? 100% yes. If you want to buy the house, you liked the house, you have, I'm going to assume you grew up in the house and you're buying it because you've got good memories there. 100% yes, buy the house. Could there be something from an estate sale? Could somebody bring something in? Sure, they could have. Is it a reason for you not to buy the house? No, absolutely not. It is not a reason for you not to buy the house. Whatever could have been brought in will dissipate. It will leave. It's not there because of you. I mean, unless somebody came in and did a whole bunch of like blood magic. Oh, that's a perfect segue. We should have this as the last story. But that didn't happen. I mean, it's just an estate sale. People are coming through the house. People bring different energy. We talk about this all the time. People bring tons of different energy. Somebody's having a bad day. They've got bad energy. They come in the house. Things feel a little off maybe after they leave. It's just the energy that they brought with them. That energy is going to dissipate and leave. It leaves with them. If they left a little bit behind, it's fine. It's going to dissipate. It's not there for you. It's not there for your mom. It's not there for your sister or your husband or your kids. There's nothing to be afraid of. I don't see any reason why you should do that. Feeling sick to your stomach, you're purchasing a house. Everybody I know that, including me, I've owned multiple homes. Every time that we go to closing and we're talking about buying something and spending that much money, you know, I don't get sick to my stomach to the point where like you're throwing up, but you get butterflies in your stomach. Like, man, this is a big commitment, you know, X amount of dollars every month, X amount of purchase price. It's, 30-year mortgage, 15-year mortgages. We're going to be here a long time. We're going to pay a lot of money every month to own this thing. Yeah. People get nervous. I think butterflies in your stomach is normal. I wouldn't say that that's any reason to not buy the place. So, and then I'll address this and then throw it over to Mike. Your mom had a premonition about something terrible would happen if we bought the house. She's very religious. Religion and premonitions have absolutely nothing to do with each other. They're two completely separate things. I'm very religious. I'm not a Bible thumper in that type of term where I'm running around telling everybody that they need to drop what they're doing and believe what I believe. That's not what I do. But I am very religious and very deep in my faith in what I believe in. And if your mom is too, that's fantastic. That has nothing to do with premonitions, though. Premonitions are something completely different. Unless your mom has premonitions and has had premonitions and they've come true and she shared them with you, I would take that with a very small grain of salt that she had a premonition that something bad's going to happen. So that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, I can't get behind the fact that you've had 3 accidents on the stairs since the sale, and all of a sudden there's a spirit in your house.
Yeah, I didn't even address that because I just figured that was people moving stuff.
Right, exactly.
Tripping over things, whatever.
Exactly. I mean, and if your mother's a hoarder, which
you're gonna have boxes and shit laying around, yeah.
Well, I mean, but if you got rid of it, now all of a sudden, like, things are different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get used to climbing the stairs in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
If stuff is there.
Right.
And now all of a sudden it's not, and you're off balance, and you're carrying stuff probably up and down the stairs. It's very, very easy. I'm a delivery driver. I carry boxes up and down stairs all day. I've tripped on stairs. I've slipped on ice. I've tried to get, into my truck and haven't lifted my foot high enough.
Yeah, and trip forward.
And trip forward to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
It happens. As you said, a lot of moving injuries happen when moving.
That's a profound statement.
I'm pretty sure that they're talking about moving as in like the chore,
right,
of moving out of the house, but still, just the way it was phrased is ridiculous. But I get it. I get what this person is saying. So the thing about it is you can't just take those little instances and think that there's a spirit there. Plus, I'll also address this whole premonition thing. I agree. Premonitions and religion have nothing to do with each other. I know a lot of people think that a premonition is something that comes from God, which is probably why they connected the two. But that's not necessarily the case. In fact, I would think most of the time it's not.
I would agree with you on that. Most of the time, I think premonitions do not come from God.
Exactly. So, but the thing about it is premonitions, at least for me, are usually in a lot more detail than something bad is going to happen. Mm-hmm. Does your mom have a bad feeling? Fine. That's fine. Lots of parents do. Maybe she's worried you're not financially stable enough to buy it. I also love the fact that your mother told your sister, not you.
Yeah, I wondered about that too.
So I don't even think that your mother takes the whole premonition thing very seriously. Mm-hmm. If you're worried about the energy of the house, have it cleansed. There's nothing wrong with bringing out a little sage or mm-hmm. even calling up a medium or somebody who knows how to sage, mm-hmm. Knows how to cleanse. Have them come in and cleanse your house. And I think that especially after hoarding and then clearing it out and then moving out and then moving in, I think a cleanse would do that home a lot of good. And
I would agree with you. I think that I do believe that there is something that's associated, some type of entity, and it's not demonic, but there is some type of entity that is associated with clutter, I think. I believe that. Like I don't remember the episode. Maybe it was 6, but remember Paranormal State when they were at the trailer park house and it was just you couldn't even hardly walk in it because they were tripping over everything and they were having all that activity. And they're like, the first thing we need to do is just get some space, get it cleaned a little bit, so it's not, I think that there is a type of entity that's attracted to that type of mentality that allows clutter to be there.
Well, I think it's the chaos of it.
I think it's something.
And when you get rid of that clutter and you get rid of all of that hoarding and all of that mess, I think it brings a sense of organization and like stability to you. And that's what they don't like. But whereas if you're tossing stuff ever and you're not getting rid of anything, I think that your energy is in a constant state of flux. And I think that's what they're attracted to. I don't know if there's a particular type of entity that's associated with that, but I think entities who are looking to feed off energy just in general, I think might be attracted to something.
I would think they'd be attracted to that. Absolutely.
All righty.
So buy the house. Buy the house, live comfortably, have a lot of great memories, build great memories with your family.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
And, maybe just get rid of the stairs.
Yeah. And just get it cleansed. just for the hell of it, right? Just if your mom's really religious, just to have your priest come in and just give it a house blessing. You're not driving anything out. House blessings aren't really made about driving things out. House blessings are to make you feel better about being in the house. Honestly, it's not really made to cast out demonic entities. That's a totally different thing.
Right.
Anyway.
All right. Number 3. Girlfriend is sleepwalking only at her house. Woke up to her standing on bed pointing to the corner. Hey guys, so things have gotten crazy with my girlfriend's sleep problems. I've been seeing this girl for a little under a year. Great loving relationship. I'm going to marry this girl. She sleepwalks. I always find her standing at the door, not going in or not.
I think not going in or out would be.
Yeah, not going in or out. Just standing still. She has a 4-year-old son who I adore and vice versa. Honest to God, he has woken up at 2:11 on the dot the past month every single night, crying and wanting to come to bed with us. One night, he woke up screaming and crying worse than normal. He will always stand at the threshold of our door crying for one of us to come and get him. He will not cross the threshold under any circumstance unless we physically come pick him up. Side note, we leave the room open all day and he is in and out of there all day. Anyway, the other night he woke up at 2:11 a.m. as usual. The only difference is when I picked him up to lay with us, he claimed there was a quote-unquote man in the corner. I checked, even though I could see there wasn't. I did it to comfort him because I could see the corner and tell nothing was there. Then he insisted we go out of the room until the man in the corner was gone. The whole time he had a look of terror on his face. What do I do? So I'm going to address the child second because it's interesting. He said, my girlfriend sleepwalks only at her house, woke up to her standing on the bed pointing at the corner. And that has nothing to do with your story.
Well, it kind of does.
Well, then she's standing in the corner, or she's standing in the doorway, not moving. Like
right.
That's all he talks about with her. Is she's standing at the door, not going in or out, just standing still.
I think that he needed a different title for his question, and then the statement of the girlfriend being and pointing at the corner, because I think her pointing at the corner and the kid seeing the guy in the corner is this. I would bet it's the same corner.
So he just has his people messed up.
Yeah, well, we're all human. I got what he meant by it.
It just was weird because honestly, your girlfriend standing at the door is not. I would not call that sleepwalking. But I mean, is she, getting out of bed obviously and still asleep and walking over to the door? Yes. So I don't know what is going on in this house. I would think that your girlfriend is not sleepwalking. She is probably at least, and maybe I've just watched Paranormal Activity one too many times. But that just seems a little odd. And I am not any sort of expert on sleepwalking. I haven't even done research on it. So I don't know if that's normal. If they get out of bed, walk to a certain place, and then just stand there until they wake up.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I know that they can continue to walk around the house. They can, do all that kind of stuff. And it's probably it's not a good idea to wake them up when they're in that.
I used to leave the house. My parents would hear the front door close in the middle of the night and then come and get me. And I'd be walking to school at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, walking down the alley, going to school. And they would be like, no, school's canceled today. And they would just come get me out. I'd be outside dressed, out of my pajamas, the lunch pail, the whole 9 yards, man. Nobody would. I mean, I was on top of it. And there was many other instances of sleepwalking when I was younger. I was a huge sleepwalker and sleep talker. So, yeah, I think there's something really weird going on here with this specific threshold thing. And I'm going to address that when it's my turn. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's all right. So yeah, this just seems weird to me. I mean, obviously, the man in the corner. Every child has a man in the corner. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that there's not something going on, but it always just seems to be a man in the corner, and it's always the corner. I'm still looking for that answer as to why it's always the corner.
Be looking for that forever.
I don't necessarily think that there's anything hugely related to the time, unless there's something in the history of the house. I mean, if you did a history of the house and you found, a former homeowner in the 30s was found dead at 2:11 in the morning, or was shot dead at 2:11 in the morning, well, then that would have a correlation to this, and my answer would change. I'm always going to go with my solution from the last one. Have your place cleansed, or if it's something that is continues to go on, call in a paranormal team, a reputable paranormal team, to try to find some answers for you. There could definitely be a reason why that threshold to your room is such an interesting location. It could have something to do with EMF. Is there bad wiring around that thing that makes that such a crazy thing? I don't know the answer. This is one of those cases where I would have to do research on the house and on that, and I would have to investigate to try to find a natural reason for why that could be happening. I think if your girlfriend was standing on the bed pointing at the corner, I would like to know why she was standing on the corner or standing on the bed pointing at the corner. But that wasn't part of your story, was it?
I think it is. I'm giving him credit for that being part of the story. I think he just put it in the wrong location.
Well, it's all about location in this story, isn't it? But
yeah, it kind of is.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm kind of stuck here. I need more information. As of right now, nobody's been injured. Nobody's been attacked. Nobody's been hurt.
Yeah, but there's something's messing with the kid.
Well, something's messing with both of them. I mean, not this guy, but
right.
the girlfriend
right.
and the kid. And so, honestly, I would call in a paranormal team and see what they can find.
Right. So I'm going to go out on a little bit of a limb here. I'm going to say that there might have been something with the dad. This guy's with him now. The dad is not in the story. It very well could be that, I don't want to assume this obviously because it's bad, but it could be that the dad took his own life and it happened at 2:11 a.m. The threshold thing, it would tie in perfectly with that, because if he shot himself when he was standing in the doorway, that would create like this intense energy barrier. And if you were even remotely capable of feeling energy, you would feel that energy in that door, in that door frame. As the kid, and her, it would make sense that she was drawn to that door frame, as she's trying to She won't go through it. She's just there because the energy's drawing her there. The kid's scared and won't come through there because of an event happened there. The guy in the corner could very well be the father if he passed away. And he's just standing in the corner now. That question will never be answered until we're dead and gone, figuring out why the hell everybody's in the corner. Because that's one of the first things I'm going to ask. When I walk into a room and there's a bunch of other dead people like me, I'm going to be like, what the hell are y'all doing in the corner? Why do you guys always stand in the corner? Why is it always in the corner, under the bed, and in the goddamn closet? You know, why don't you just like sit at the kitchen table or something? Because I'm going to go sit at the dining room table or whatever. I'm going to go look out the big picture window, look at the lake or something. You guys hide in your corner. But I think there's something there. I think that the correlation of the mom sleepwalking, she's obviously, I've done a ton of research on sleepwalking because I was such a huge sleepwalker, and I still to this day occasionally do. She is disturbed by energy changing in the house, in the environment, and that's how she's responding to it. The fact she's standing on the bed pointing at the corner, there's something in the corner. The kid saw something in the corner. Is it bad? No, I don't think it's necessarily bad, but it's something that should be addressed. I definitely think it should be addressed, whether it be by a priest or a paranormal team or a medium or whoever you have faith in and want to bring in. I think that it should be addressed. I think there is an entity in the corner. Why they're there, you need to figure that out. And then you need to find out how, what they need to be able to move on. And then I think that all that energy in the house is going to be resolved. Same thing too. I think this is housebound. I don't think that this would change and follow them. So I think it's an event that happened in the house. So if this is the woman you're going to marry and you have a place and you move and you get married and you move together into your house, I think that all this is going to stop. I think it's just it's never going to happen again. I think that everybody's going to sleep fine. There's not going to be any more sleepwalking, and there's not going to be any threshold type of disturbances. So marry the woman, get her and the kid out of there, let somebody else have the house. And then call the paranormal team would be my advice. Because something's definitely happening. There's some type of energy there that's in that threshold for some reason, and it's manifesting in the corner now. There's a reason why it needs to be addressed. Not saying it's bad, nothing to be scared of, but don't just leave it be, because it's not going to go away on its own. So, anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Number 4, trauma and mental issues stemming from paranormal experiences. Question: has anyone had a paranormal experience and later been plagued with mental health issues? I've recently been told by a psychiatrist that instead of having the mental disorder I thought I had, he thinks I have PTSD stemming from childhood trauma. The thing is, while my childhood is a bit hazy, I don't remember anything huge other than my parents' divorce and experiencing our house being haunted for a solid year. Lately, I've been having nightmares about a terrifying house and things inside the house terrorizing me. And now considering that, it was a whole year of constant terror, paranoia, hearing and seeing things, insomnia, and being startled constantly by sudden things occurring. Okay, I read that like crap, but I'm going to reread that. Okay. Oh, and now considering that, it was a whole year of constant terror, paranoia, seeing things, hearing things, insomnia, and being startled constantly by sudden things occurring. I read it like crap. It's also written like crap, so sorry. All of which could explain complex PTSD symptoms such as nightmares, a dramatic startle reflex, unexplained paranoia, sleeping issues, etc. So I'm curious if anyone else has suffered long-term effects from their paranormal encounters. This happened when I was 11 to 12 years old, and I'm in my late 20s now. What do you guys think? Okay. Do I think... I'm just going to go to your question and your initial question. Do I think that mental issues, that people who have had paranormal experiences can be traumatized to the point where they have mental health issues later in life? 99.9% yes.
I love halfway through that sentence, you realize I never say 100%.
That's right. I never say 100%. 99.8, 99.9%, I am sure that there are cases out there of people, probably myself included, that have had such traumatic things happen in their life in a paranormal type of setting, that that it left a scar, a mental scar, and that scar manifests in ways as you grow older. I'm way behind that as far as that being the case. That's a possibility. So I don't want to like dissect this whole entire thing. I think that you thinking that you had a mental disorder that you thought you had, and then you went and saw a psychiatrist and they said something else. I think what we got potentially going on here is self-diagnosis, and self-diagnosis is the absolute worst thing you can do. You should never go into any type of like meeting thinking that, or going to see your doctor, any type of doctor, mental doctor, physical doctor, your normal everyday doctor. I don't think you should go in with any predisposed idea of what you have. If you walk into a medical appointment and you swear that you think you have cancer, it doesn't matter what your doctor says, you're going to leave that appointment still thinking you have cancer and that your doctor is incompetent and that they just don't understand or can't find it and that you still have cancer. That's kind of the feeling I get here when you're walking in and you've already kind of self-diagnosed that you have this mental disorder. And now all of a sudden it's not this mental disorder, it's this other mental disorder. Okay. So that said, in your situation, for this person's situation, I don't understand what happened. There's a big piece of puzzle piece here missing. What happened that the house for 1 year became terrifying, with things terrifying you inside of it, constant terror, paranoia, hearing, seeing things, insomnia, being startled suddenly by sudden things occurring. What happened in that year? Is this a case possibly, is this a case possibly of poltergeist type of activity? Was this person manifesting his parents' divorce into this energy storm that basically just exploded in the house and turned this place upside down? I don't know. Possibly. But I'm going to let Mike tackle that.
Great.
But I'm going to go on record, and I thoroughly believe, can you have mental issues down the road from severe trauma, from paranormal related incidences? Yes.
Yeah. Can you have PTSD from paranormal experiences? Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know people who have,
Mm-hmm.
Years down the road. I mean, yes, Dave, you could include yourself in that.
Mm-hmm.
You've channeled it into something, something productive, something positive,
Right.
But it's still there.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, I mean, as an 11 or 12-year-old who's experiencing, this for a year straight, I would not find it surprising whatsoever that you blocked it. That it's so traumatic to you that the only way that you can move forward and survive was to forget it ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, anything could trigger it again. Something on the news. Maybe you turned on an episode of A Haunting and somebody was going through almost the exact same thing. You don't know what's triggering it because you don't remember it, but it's still going to, please forgive the term, no pun intended, it's still going to haunt you. I said no pun intended.
I'm laughing at the humor of it, not sarcastically.
I know, but so I mean, this is something that you need to face.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you need to go to the psychiatrist and have them hypnotize you and put you under to bring out those memories. I mean, I hate to say it because this may put more ideas into your head which don't need to be there, but this is how like abduction cases and stuff happen. Is people have nightmares and they have insomnia and they don't know why. And then all of a sudden they go under and they start reliving being brought up to the mothership, that they blacked out, or blocked out, I should say, not blacked out. But this is definitely something that you need to face. Unfortunately, it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy. That must be Dave's.
That's not mine.
Well, ain't mine. Mine's not on.
That was yours. Came from your end.
No, I might have. I put it on. It's like absolute silent. Not even.
Yeah, I don't have mine on vibrate.
It doesn't matter.
No.
Anyway, back to our story. Sorry for that. The vibration there, but this is something that's not necessarily paranormal now, as it was obviously then. So I would just seek help bringing out those memories and help for you to face it and accept it and hopefully get over it. Now,
work through it. Yeah.
Now, I mean, if we're calling PTSD a mental disorder, and I'm obviously
it's a mental health issue for sure.
Mental health issue, yes. But this person thought they had a mental disorder, and unless you're being directly influenced by the paranormal, I don't think the paranormal can actually cause a mental disorder as much as a mental health issue. Yeah. Anxiety, insomnia, nightmares. Yes, it absolutely can do it, and seems like it has in your case. So,
I had a case where the individual was incredibly jumpy. They had experienced so much corner of the eye type of stuff at their haunting, that like every time, I mean, everything would set it off, man. This lady would jump, like, it's not funny. I'm not laughing at her or at her, what happened to her, but like every time, even like the light on the TV would change or cast a shadow, or a car would drive by. Anytime like anything like that happened, it was just this immediate 100% instant fear response. And that is very difficult to try to resolve. That's going to take somebody well beyond me. And it did, to get that resolved. So.
Gotcha. All right. Number 5. How should I get rid of an unused Ouija board? I don't even need to read this, and I already know my answer. I'm not sure it being unused really means anything, but just in case it has any effect on what I should do to get rid of it, I'd like to know. I've heard you can't just throw these things away and that they need to be disposed of in a proper way. It's been sitting in my closet for a few years. I want to get rid of it due to this sudden unease I've been feeling. And because I'm 99% sure that there's some sort of spirit in my home. I could go into a lot of detail, but I don't know how relevant it is to my question. But in case anyone is curious,
throwing it in there anyway, baby.
Yeah, over the last few years, it's been sounds of someone stomping in the attic above my room. There's no space for anyone to walk up there. This place is stuffed with insulation. They did write insulin though.
They did write insulin. I hope it's not a bunch of insulin, you hoarder.
Yeah. Insulation. The sound of breathing from under my bed and just unpleasantness. These aren't considered things by any means. These aren't consistent things by any means. Having happened 4 or 5 times in total in the past 4 years. It's not enough to be a serious problem, but it's scary. And lately I've just been feeling like I should really get rid of the Ouija board. I took it out of the box once and never touched it or used it properly. It's just something I got off Amazon. Any advice on how to get rid of it would be appreciated. Okay, you are not in any danger whatsoever, nor have you ever been. A Ouija board is only... I don't even want to say a Ouija board is only dangerous if you use it. Because even sometimes if you use it, it's still not dangerous. Depends on how you use it. But the basic fact of here with this, an unused thing, you've only even opened the box once, but never touched it. It's still a piece of cardboard with words and writing on it. That's all it is. And that's all it ever is until it's used as a tool with your intent put into it. You haven't put any intent in it. You haven't done anything with it. It's just a piece of cardboard. You can toss it in the trash and feel like you will not be harmed in any way. The fact that you've had very minor things like 5 times in the last 4 years, you're okay.
I would take that. I'll trade him.
Yeah.
5 times in 4 years. That's a trade I'll take.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what the circumstances of what each of these instances were, like the breathing under the bed. When I was younger and, would lay on my side facing the wall, I absolutely could hear breathing behind me. Absolutely 100%. Like there was no doubt in my mind. And I had to force myself to turn over, and then it was gone because, I faced it. Was breathing there? No, it was my imagination. And so, like I said, I don't know what the context behind each of these instances were. But I'll bet you there's something that would naturally explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there no room for a person to walk up in your attic? Okay. Could it be a rodent? They get into all sorts of things, especially your attic.
Could be a snake chasing a mouse.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know what the stomping is. I don't know how loud it is. Like I said, I don't know the context behind anything. But I mean, I think if you bought a Ouija board off Amazon, then you have. Well, it's a little late now. It's been years. I'm pretty sure Amazon's return policy does not go. If you bought this in, 2019, you can still return it.
Yeah, probably not.
So,
white elephant gift.
There you go. Just give it to somebody else.
Give it to somebody else. Pass it along.
Yeah, give it to a child.
Yeah, give it to the group of 10-year-old kids that hang out on the corner of the street.
That's right. And instead of
tell them you got something really fun for them.
Yeah, and instead of riding their bikes around and making noise, they'll be in their house summoning demons.
Exactly.
So I mean, that'll teach them.
Yep.
So, like I said, you're fine. You can throw the Ouija board away. You can give it to somebody else. It's still not going to cause an issue. There's nothing attached to it. There's nothing to it. It's just a piece of cardboard right now. So that's my answer.
Yep. I think it's a solid answer. My answer is throw it in the garbage can. You don't need to do any type of binding to it. Are there instances where something like a Ouija board needs to be bound and buried? Absolutely. 100%. No, that's not me giving it 100%. I'm just saying that other people will tell you it's 100%. So
we find a loophole there.
Yeah, I did find a loophole there. Yeah. So is that the case? Sure. There are Ouija boards that have been attributed to unpleasant things happening to individuals because they did something that they shouldn't have done. Is that the case here? Absolutely not. Throw it in the garbage can. I do have to ask a question here, though, and I'm just going to assume that it was just not written properly. But after, I've been reading it, and I just can't not stop reading this one line. So it says, I took it out of the box once and never touched it or used it properly.
I saw that too.
So if you took it out of the box and you never touched it, how the hell did you take it out of the box?
Well, you could easily.
And if you never used it properly, that to me, that implies that you used it in some way, shape, or form.
Improperly.
Yeah, improperly. And that's why you're freaking out now. So I know I'm reading into this, but that's what I'm reading as somebody who has gone through hundreds and probably thousands of questions and looked for answers for people. That what I read here in between the lines is you took it out of the box and you put it down and you started to use it, but you didn't use it properly and you never closed the door. And I'm not saying that caused something to be attached to it and that you're going to hell. But what I'm saying is, if that was the case, then you need to go take it back out of the box. You need to sign off. You need to do it the right way. And if you don't know how to do it, there's I'm sure go to YouTube and I'm sure you can find legitimate ways like to close it by people who are experienced. I know how to do it, but I'm not going to tell you how to do it in case you do it wrong and then try to blame me because you didn't listen properly. So you can go close it properly. Once it's closed, once you close whatever you might have accidentally opened, the board is completely dead in quotes, and is no longer of any harm to anybody. And you really want to get rid of it, you could just put it right in the garbage can or the recycling bin. You got nothing to worry about. And the fact that you haven't been attacked, and the fact that you haven't been touched, and the fact that you haven't experienced somebody staring at you, and you don't have cold spots in your house, and you don't get phantom noises and, following you around, like Mike said, right, 4 or 5 times in the past 4 years, that's not paranormal. That's just misinterpreting what you are hearing. You watched a Paranormal Activity marathon, and then you went to bed, and your mind, I'm being serious, and then your mind was in that mode, and you went to bed, and you heard something, and of course your mind just got done watching 3 scary movies in a row, and so your brain is kind of in that mode, and that's what it processes. Is that what's there? No. First of all, if your attic is stuffed full of insulation and you hear stomping in your attic, I wouldn't be worried about it at all, because that's residual. Because there's no way an intelligent entity could stomp in 8, 10, 12 inches of insulation in your attic. So right off the bat, that's not even a possibility. So I don't think there's anything going on here. I just, reading between the lines, I just wanted to throw it out there. Took it out of the box, never touched it or used it properly. Either that was really poorly written, or something is going on and they did something with it and they just don't want to admit it. And that's usually the case. Man, I don't want to sound like an ass for saying that, but that's usually the case, because I've been on too many cases where you ask a person something and they tell you that they've never done something and they've never done this and they've never done that, and they don't understand why in the hell is this happening to them. And then the 3rd time you're at their house, or the 4th time you're at their house, you get there was that time when we were about 12 that I went to my friend's house and she had a Ouija board and she was into all kinds of black magic, and we started conjuring something, and then the whole room went black and she disappeared and I never saw her again. Okay. That never comes out the first time you visit with someone, though. That's always down the road. And that's a true case, by the way. I'm not going to say what case it was, obviously, but that's from that's a true case. And it was the 4th time we were at their house. 4th time to the house after 2 investigations.
Gotcha. All right.
So interesting, all right. Number 6.
Nope.
Sorry. Go ahead.
It's time for intermission.
Oh, is it?
Yes,
I'm sorry.
is.
7:59.
That's right. All right. We will be back here in a couple minutes. If you are listening on Spreaker or iHeart or whatever, you're going to hear a bunch of promos for the show, and you can fast forward if you want. If you are listening on Subspace Odyssey Radio, enjoy the news and top of the hour. We'll be back here in just a few minutes.
This is Susan Slaughter from Paranormal Caught on Camera, introducing you to the most epic show ever, the Odyssey Files with David Soyering and Michael O'Neill. You're welcome. Pew, 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 pew.
Hey, this is Grant Wilson from Ghost Hunters, and if you ever have time that you never want to get back, spend it listening to Mike and Dave on the Odyssey Files.
This is Heather Taddy of Paranormal State and Alien Highway. I can't say that the Odyssey Files are out of this world, but Mike and Dave are quite abductable.
Hey, this is Dustin Perry from Ghost Hunters, and you're listening to Dave and Mike on the Odyssey Files. It's not the best show you're ever going to listen to, but it's also probably not the worst.
This is Michelle Belanger, author of The Dictionary of Demons. What is faster than a speeding shadow person and more fun than an anal probe? It's Mike and Dave of the Odyssey Files. Hold on to your hats and buns.
This is Elizabeth Saint. You know, in my journeys I've confronted an over 1,000-year-old demon from the depths of Shepherdstown. But then, you know what happened? I came across Mike and Dave. And hot damn, nothing could have prepared me for the Odyssey Files. My second favorite radio show. I love you guys.
And we are back. Not with us, apparently, is my co-host, Mr. David Soyering, who's just sitting down to join us.
Ta-da!
Guess who's late? Oh,
it's a long walk to get to the water.
Oh, well, I suppose.
And then I had to pee, and that's TMI. But that's what the 2-minute break is for, man. It's like get a little bit of water and use the restroom if you need to.
That's right.
So sorry about that. Didn't quite make it back.
Especially when you get up in your age.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Between my age and my back, I'm surprised I even made it up the stairs to refill my water bottle. So, to be honest, yeah.
Yeah.
And that you didn't hear me having some major incident going back down the stairs.
So before we finish our stories, just want to say if you have any paranormal questions or stories that you would like to write in to us for us to read and respond to here live on the air, you can do so at OdysseyFilesRadio@gmail.com. Or you can just send us a private message on either our Facebook or YouTube channels. We get them there too. So, and like and subscribe on YouTube and Facebook. I do enjoy feeling popular. even if it's just you. That's all of you.
I did it.
No, not you, Dave.
Oh,
you as in the listener.
You as in our listeners. Gotcha.
I am talking directly to you. Not you, Dave.
No, right. I got that.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
All right. Story number 6. Have at it.
Okay. Has anyone else ever saw themselves in real life? Years ago at a football game, as everyone was leaving, I saw myself about 25 yards away wearing the exact same outfit, standing still among the crowd, looking back at me with a blank stare. I stopped and stared back, feeling completely puzzled. I had not been drinking or doing any drugs. Why does everybody put that in there? Like every time they got to automatically be like, oh, it wasn't like I was drinking. And I've never had any mental issues or been on any psychiatric meds. Well, thank God for all of that. To this day, almost 20 years later, it boggles me. Never been able to find any meaning behind it. I've always had an extra sense of experiencing spiritual things, but never of this type. I didn't feel scared, didn't really feel anything at the time. When I turned to get my friend's attention to see what I was seeing, we turned back and it, or I, was gone. Any similar experiences or input as to what that was all about? Well, obviously, the obvious answer is you saw your doppelganger. The interesting thing is that you didn't die after seeing your doppelganger, because supposedly that's what happens. You see your doppelganger, and then, 3 days later, you're dead, and your doppelganger takes over your life.
That is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Okay, but continue.
Okay. So I don't really know why you saw yourself, other than I'm going to default to the time slip theory that you, in another dimension, in another existence, was at that football game, and you saw yourself. And I think what happened here was, I think your doppelganger, I'm just going to use the term doppelganger because it's easier for me to try to explain this. I think that your doppelganger saw you first is what happened. And so you seeing them staring at you, they were already staring at you. The reason they were staring at you is because they were looking at you going, what the hell is that? What am I doing 8 rows up, 20 yards away, at this football game when I'm standing right here. Who is that? And I think what happened is you're the second person who saw them, not the first. So your doppelganger is standing there, has already seen you, is trying to process what exactly they see. And then you happen to turn for whatever reason and also see them. And you've got this little bit of staring thing going on. The reason, obviously, that when you turn to your friend and turn back that you were gone is because time slips are just that. They're time slips. They're not the open portal dimensions where we just have the ability to walk into another time space and stand there and have a conversation with other individuals in other realities that are not our reality. It gets very deep and complicated here, but that's what I think happened here. I think for whatever reason, I don't know why there was a time slip. I don't know why you saw yourself. I don't know what it was supposed to represent. It's been 20 years. Nothing bad happened. I mean, I don't know. I would just say that it was a glitch in the matrix, I mean, not to sound like a pun, but I don't think it was anything bad. I just think that I just think that it was, like I said, I think it was just you were just at that game in another time, another experience. And it happened to see you also and was staring at you because it couldn't figure out what the hell it was looking at either.
Yeah. So I do believe in at least the dimensional slip, not so much time, since they're pretty much, he's not transferring for, forward or backwards in time. They're just kind of seeing each other. But also, it could have been, I don't want to call it a hallucination, but maybe like I have this word in my head and it's right on the tip of my brain. But like a psychic projection of himself. And when he turned away, he lost his focus, right. And, it was gone. Either one could be the case. There's nothing to be worried about. There's nothing wrong with you. I can't even, it happens so rarely that I can't even say, it happens. But
it's rare. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a rare event. I mean, use it to break the ice at parties. Hey, let me tell you about the time I saw myself.
Yeah. 20 yards away at a football game. You're never going to believe it.
Yeah. the ladies will love it.
Yeah.
So I don't think that if you see your doppelganger, you die. I think it's, if you want to use the whole time cop,
right.
theory, it's if you touch them.
Right.
If it is if you share the same space with your doppelganger, then you both die.
You both explode. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. I've never heard, and I don't know where anybody would get the whole, if you see your doppelganger, you die 3 days later. That just seems to be like the Ring 0.5.
Yeah.
That's like the prequel to the Ring.
Yeah.
I saw myself on an iPhone chat, and now I have 3 days to live.
Damn it! I shouldn't have been on my iPhone.
Oh, that's so going to be a movie. Ugh. Anyways, so yeah, I think you're fine. Again, just use it as an icebreaker at parties and move on with your life.
I agree. I've had two times in my life that somebody has seen my doppelganger, and one of them was my kids, and they pretty much, my kids know what the hell I look like. So for them to be running up to some guy saying, "Hey, Dad," and excited talking to this guy and it not being me, freaked them out. To this day, they're still freaked out about it.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a cool story though.
All righty, moving on to another story, our last one of the night.
Last one.
Mirrors and their relevance. Okay, here's my doubt. Any story that starts with that is amazing. I love it. I love it already.
Exactly.
Several times I've heard about the quote unquote paranormal properties that mirrors have. And I'm curious about it. Do mirrors have any of those properties that people claim to have? What role do they have in paranormal events? I would like to know your opinions or any info that you can share about it. I believe that the rest also would like to read what you can share. So, okay, a mirror is a mirror until you change it. Same with the Ouija board. Honestly, same with almost everything. If all you're doing is looking in a mirror to check out the way you look, nothing's ever going to happen. It has no paranormal properties. If you are using it to do something dumb, like conjure Bloody Mary, or put some intent to open a portal or a vortex, can they take on that property and intent? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to use them as a psychomantium, which I do not recommend that you do in any way, shape, or form, their properties change. But again, it's the energy you put into it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it is just a inanimate object, same as the Ouija board, same as anything. It's what you do as the person, your energy, your intent, your everything. So, do they have a relevance in the paranormal? Unfortunately, yes. Usually it's stupid and dumb and shouldn't be used, but that is given to them by us. Otherwise, no, they have no paranormal properties whatsoever in a normal, natural environment.
I agree.
Okay, moving on.
As I say, the only thing that might differentiate that would be is if somehow somebody bound somebody's spirit into a mirror, like I'm talking like not one you would walk into a chain store and buy today, but like an antique that's a couple hundred years old, that possibly if somebody's spirit could be bound into that mirror mirror itself then could be its own type of entity and haunted.
Yeah, but again,
I think it's rare. I would say it's extremely rare. Is it possible? Yes.
But again, that paranormal property was given to it.
Correct.
By the person who
correct
used it to bound whatever entity was there.
Right. I agree. I'm just saying for people who love to buy antiques.
Be careful.
Be careful.
About the mirrors.
I'm just saying. Sometimes you bring something that you think, is gorgeous, ornate, beautiful, and blah, blah, blah. And before, the 100 years, 150 years that it's been on the planet Earth, somebody else used it for something.
Yep.
Does it contain that energy still? Yeah, it does. Unless you clean, and then you clean it. You clean it just like you would clean a dirty mirror. You clean it and it's gone. And then you got a fresh mirror again.
Yes. Yes, indeed. All righty. Well, that does it for stories for this week. Again, OdysseyFilesRadio at gmail.com if you would like to send us one of yours. We'd be happy to read it and respond to it here live on the air. Or not, if you don't want us to. If you just want us to respond and not put it on the air, we can do that too.
Yeah, like if you've got a story that you're kind of embarrassed about or something, whatever your reason is, if you don't want it read on the air, but you still want some advice, absolutely, we will take care of that.
Absolutely. So,
are we going to go religion or magic first?
Let's go religion.
All right.
I think that's going to take up a lot of the time because there's some amazing stuff.
There's some really good stuff
about different religions and beliefs and stuff around history. And I mean, we're not just talking like Christianity. We're talking about all sorts of different belief systems and whatnot. But I want to start with a call for charity. And this
you go. You're going to bring it up right at the beginning, huh?
Right at the beginning.
We're starting with a bang, baby. We're not starting with a whimper.
That's right. The Satanic Bay Area blood sacrifice. I don't know what the Satanic Bay Area is. Maybe it's out by San Francisco. I have no idea. But here, and this is on the American Red Cross website. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Legit. sleevesup.redcrossblood.org. And this is what they write. I'm going to read it verbatim because it's so amazing. Blood sacrifice has been an important element of satanic magical rituals for years. As modern Satanists, we don't believe in supernatural things and never shed blood of innocent animals and humans. And, of course, we don't drink blood. Not even the metaphorical one. like some people out there. Yet, there is a way we can relate to an old tradition of blood sacrifice while doing something good for society, and that is blood donation. Thousands of people are in constant need of blood products every day, so it's crucial that everyone considers giving blood. Bleed for Satan. You know what I love about this? So it has a pledge, almost like a GoFundMe, where it has it wants an amount of backers, but it's people pledging to give blood.
Right.
Only 3 people actually have pledged to give blood, but they wanted 666 people.
Well, of course they did.
I love it.
And who says that number has no relevance to Satanists?
Apparently it does.
Apparently it does.
When they want people to pledge to give blood.
I'm going to have to throw the bullshit flag on that, though, because Satanists do blood sacrifices.
Modern Satanists don't.
Yes, they do.
According
to Good Sam there, that is trying to, get people in to give blood to the Red Cross, which is a great cause, obviously, by the way. If we're not making light of that in any way, shape, or form. That is a fantastic reason and a fantastic cause.
That's right.
To get in and give blood to save lives.
If you need a reason, there you go. Bleed for Satan.
Yeah, I would not do it for that reason, but but it is a good reason to get in there. Get in there and give some blood, so in case somebody's obviously, and then depending on your blood type, obviously some of our blood's more rare than others.
Right. So all right. Well, I just wanted to kick that one off. Right.
So we start off bang right away with Satan worshipers.
Well, I mean,
doing good for the community.
Can you honestly tell me that when you're talking about human sacrifice in religion, that the first thing that people don't think of right away is worshipers of Satan?
I would say either Satanists or witches that practice black magic.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily religion. That's magic.
But magic is religion.
It can be.
Witchcraft is it's a form. It is a form of religion. I would classify witchcraft as a form of religion.
That's fair.
I mean, is it religion? We can't just stick religion into Christianity type of formats because that's obviously it's much more widespread than that. So I would say it's religion and for what their beliefs are. So that's where my mind would go anyway. My mind would go to either, blood sacrifice, trying to conjure a demon through Satanism, or trying to cast a spell, a harmful type of spell onto another person using dark witchcraft. Would be the two things that first pop into my head. So,
gotcha. That's fair. So I'm just going to say again that not all human sacrifice is to not all. Let's just say sacrifice, because we do have some here that's not human. It's animal,
right,
and stuff like that. But there was one that I found here, Religions of China, and it's not necessarily anything that they do now. At least I hope not. Or we probably would hear about it, but
nothing comes out of China. You know that. Ain't nothing that comes out of China that they don't want to come out of China.
I would say, except mediocre products.
Well,
and lots of them.
Yeah, mediocre products and
our American flags,
watered down information.
Yeah, our American flags come out of China.
Yeah, not if you're really an American and you want
to
buy something for more than 98 cents on a flag.
I was going to say, do you know how many of those small flags have made in China?
I don't even want to know. Hundreds of millions, I'm sure.
But anyway, in ancient China. And this is what got to me. So apparently, if a ruler, like the what do they call them? not a czar, but emperor.
Emperors. Yep.
If an emperor died, just natural causes, whatever, slain, who knows, then it was thought that not only should, when he pass on, he should have like all of his like major belongings and stuff like that to go with him, but also the people that worked for him should also accompany him into the other world. And so apparently, if you were the servant, if you were a butler, whatever they wanted to call him, if he died, so did you. So you could escort the emperor to the other side. I've found that hilarious and sad at the same time.
It sounds very Egyptian to me too, because when pharaohs passed away, all of their servants were also entombed with them, with all of their belongings and stuff like that, so that the people could continue to take care of the pharaoh's needs as he passed into the next realm, which would suck if you were like, his foot massager. Hey, he passed away, and check this out. We're gonna put him in his tomb, and why don't you swing by about 2:00 on Wednesday? We're doing something a little special here, and come on over, and you're gonna love it. And then they wall you in.
Yeah.
No thanks. This isn't what I expected. Yeah.
No, it's not.
So I'm gonna stick with Chinese here for a second, because I found something kind of interesting too. So in the Shang Dynasty, they were killing people like it was just a common practice. It wasn't even like human sacrifice. It wasn't just religious purposes for the Chinese during that dynasty. It was used for political purposes. It was used for intimidation. It was used for everything. This exact quote says, ritual human sacrifice knew no bounds in China. They would frequently sacrifice men, women, children, and even infants in unspeakably violent and painful ways between 1600 and 1046 BC. Here's the kind of creepy part, and this goes hand in hand with what you were talking about, is that in order to please their ancestors, so not even an emperor that died recently, they're going to say that like the emperor who died 100 years ago is upset, or the crops aren't growing real good, and so the god of wheat is upset. So what they would do is they would go into different tribes within China, and they would take male ancestors and they would behead them in groups, and they referred to this type of activity as pit sacrifices. And this is even worse, if the ancestor was more significant, I guess, meaning a better emperor, better ruler, or had more money when he died, or more wives, or whatever, however they judged that back in the day, that the ancestor required more heads. So it wasn't just several males, it could be a whole entire group of individuals that would be beheaded. Now, here's the part that sucks, other than the beheading, is that the men's dismembered bodies would be buried without their worldly possessions. So somebody profited from this on top of it, which I find completely unacceptable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all rituals, sacrifice.
Well, right. But the fact that you stole their stuff, I think that this almost is part of I really like that robe you got, or that's a hell of a nice bracelet. And so they put your name on the list, kind of thing, and then killed you and kept your stuff. So I think it's more murder to me than it is like a sacrifice for a religion in this instance, anyway.
Yeah. So this is an instance of something that still goes on today, and it's more of, I don't want to call it a celebration, because it's not, but there is a tribe in Indonesia called the Tengger tribe, and they have thousands of people who do this every year, and they trudge up. They hike up Mount Bromo, which is a volcano in that area, and they don't do any human sacrifice there, but they do toss in goats and chickens and livestock, and they throw food, and for the basic reason that I think almost all, not all, but almost all of these human sacrifices and stuff throughout history do, and that is to appease the gods, to try and have good crops, to try and have the sun
fertility.
and the moon, fertility, whatever you wanted, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
There's one story that I'll read later where a princess was going to be, like, they sacrificed, I'll have to get to the story here later, but sacrificed whatever for children, to have children. And boy, did she have a lot. Like I said, I'll get to that story here a little bit, but for the Tenger tribe, they throw all this stuff in to try and have good crops,
right.
for that year. It's to pay homage to their god, to try and do this. What I find, apparently this is just the attempt is good enough, because it's a well-known fact that people who don't necessarily believe in this will stand underneath on the other side of the ledge of this volcano, of this crater, and catch all of the stuff that people are throwing over, like the food and the goats and the chickens, and then they go home with like with like this huge. I think that's a Tenger garage sale right there.
I think whoever was the first person who went and stood on the ledge is a genius.
I mean, underneath the ledge?
Yeah, exactly. The ledge below, and not like where you can't see him. And then he like listens to people up above, and then they're like, I'm going to throw these 12 loaves of bread over. And the dude's like, yo, bread. He gets his basket, sticks it out there, and boop, 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 he gets a couple loaves as they pass by going into the volcano. I think the guy's a genius. And then he recruits his friends, and then you got a whole group of them. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah,
catch that goat. Get that goat.
Yeah,
here comes the goat.
Yeah, so this is exactly what it says. Standing on the crater's steep slopes, other villagers who are not members of the Tenger tribe try to catch the offerings using nets and sarongs before they disappear into the billowing smoke.
I think it's a phenomenal idea.
I do too.
I mean, can you imagine, like, you sacrifice, like, you go up there and for whatever reason you take like a baby goat or something like that, and you're like, okay, we're going to sacrifice this goat so that we have a prosperous year, blah, blah, blah. And you go up there and throw your baby goat over. I'm not laughing at the fact they're sacrificing a baby goat here. I'm laughing at what I'm thinking I'm going to say. So you throw the baby goat over, and 2 weeks later you're at your buddy's house and there's your baby goat. And you're like, dude, when did you get the goat? And he's like, oh, do you like him? He's the best goat I've ever had. Oh, he's just fantastic. He loves the family. The kids love him. We had a goat just like that. Had that exact same color on his eye and everything. Weird, isn't it? Oh, yeah, I guess it's kind of strange. And it's the dude's goat. I think it's hilarious. Now, here's my question though, right? If you're making the sacrifice and you throw your shit over the ledge, and then somebody intercepts it and returns it for a touchdown the other way, does that count as an offering because it never got into the plume of smoke, and then obviously whatever, into the pit there of lava or whatever the case might, the fissure in the earth or whatever they're actually tossing it into. So if it doesn't make it, do you get credit for the fact that you tossed it over the edge?
Well, again, that goes to the whole, is it about you losing this stuff, sacrificing, or is it the intent? I mean, technically, you did still sacrifice it. It just didn't go to the person it was intended to.
Correct. Because you did let go of it. Right. So, like, if that was your favorite baby goat or whatever, and like you're like, okay, I'm going to give up my favorite baby goat for so that we can have a prosperous year this year and have much more goats and, success. And that was your intention. And then you threw your baby goat over.
Right.
You have done your part, I guess, in that ritual. You let go of this thing.
Exactly. I mean, I would hope so. So
that would suck if that didn't happen, though.
Agreed.
Like if the god of fire or whatever is down there accepting these gifts, somehow conveyed who gets like a great year and who doesn't. That would just totally suck if they're like, that goat was beautiful and I was really looking forward to you sacrificing it, and I saw you throw it, but man, you just didn't quite get it out far enough, and your neighbor grabbed it on the way down. I'm sorry, you don't qualify.
Yeah, I can see. I just see this cartoon bubble in my head right now of, this God sitting on his throne looking at his sheet of people who, he's going to bless. And he's hearing this praise from this guy who didn't get it. And he's like, let me see here. He's like, no, I never got any goat.
Yeah, exactly. I never received anything from you this year. For you, nothing but swarms of locusts.
Exactly.
All year long.
So this is a month-long festival and dates back to the 15th century.
Wow.
And so the princess thing that I was just talking about actually is the exact same festival and the exact same tribe. So her name was Genovese Hindu Majapahit.
You nailed that, man.
I totally did.
You totally nailed that.
Kingdom's princess and her husband. So unable to bear children after years of marriage, the couple begged the gods for help. And so apparently their prayers, you got to be very careful when you pray to the gods of the Tinger people, because when they decide to say yes, they go above and beyond. So after they sent these prayers to the gods, their prayers were answered and they were promised 25 children.
That's a stack of kids, man.
As long as they agreed to sacrifice the youngest child by throwing him into Mount Bromo.
Every year?
No.
Or just one-time deal? So
basically they would have 25 children, but number 25 would have to be thrown into the volcano. Yeah,
okay. So you get 24. So you get 24, really.
Right. So
you're buying a 25 pack, but you only get 24.
Exactly. So you have a dozen and then a baker's dozen.
Right.
But you only end up with the dozen.
Right.
So the legend has it that the youngest child willingly jumped into the volcano so that his people could be guaranteed prosperity.
Wow.
Apparently it didn't happen because they're still doing the month-long ritual every year to try and have a good year.
Yeah, I would say that was a bad sacrifice then.
But here,
as an observationist, I would just say that was a bad deal for that kid.
I just honestly, you're unable.
Somebody should have grabbed him and said, "Dude, it's just a joke, man."
Yeah, you're unable to bear children after years of marriage, so you end up having 25. That's a lot of effing.
Yeah,
like a lot.
Or just 25 times. Because I mean, if the guy was blessed, I'm just saying, if the guy was blessed, hey, he was a 100% shooter every time.
Every 9 months,
right?
Just kept shooting them out,
right?
I mean, honestly,
so you think of how old the woman would be at that point, right? Because even if you were on a 9-month cycle, 25 kids is
at least 25 years.
Yeah, I would say, right. It's be a little less than 25, but it's that's a point I was getting at. So if she started when she was 20, she'd be in her 40s.
Yeah.
By the time she got done, and she'd be really tired of probably having kids because she would probably be like, get that thing the hell away from me. You figure out what to do on your own, because we're done with this whole baby thing after about the 9th or 10th kid, I would think.
Yeah. So honestly,
human body's not made to have that many babies.
You need to be very careful when you pray to the God of the Tinger people.
Yeah. Don't pray for babies.
I would pray for like $1,000 and then they would give me 25 million.
Exactly. I would just pray for, I wouldn't even pray for like denominations. I would just pray for solid gold coins and bars, maybe like a wheelbarrow full. And then from there, we'll just see what happens.
Gotcha.
See how big a prosperity it is. So let's combine two here because they're so close together. It makes sense to do it. And they both did it for religion in a sense, because they were both trying to appease their gods. And that was the Incas and the Aztecs.
Mm-hmm.
So the Incas, the Inca civilization used human sacrifice, obviously, to appease their gods, which were multiple, because the Incas were in a situation where they were facing many natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, volcanic eruptions. They thought, well, the only way that we're going to get this to stop, where we can have like a calm living environment where we're not going to have these major catastrophes, is to appease our gods. And to appease their gods, their thought was, we need to basically offer up a human life. At first, the sacrifices were prisoners of war. Kind of makes sense. Back in those days, if you were a prisoner of war, they probably weren't going to keep you around and feed you and clothe you and check on your health and your welfare. You're, as a prisoner of war, you should probably would have been better off dying in battle, to be honest, because it was probably a hell of a lot worse being a prisoner of war and being taken to an Inca encampment than if you would have just died as a warrior on the battlefield. That's going to be my guess. But the problem was, and I know you guys are going to have a hard time believing this, that the human sacrifices did not stop the earthquakes, volcanoes, and floods from happening. I know that's hard to grasp, but that is exactly what happened.
Mind blowing.
It is mind blowing. So, in their almighty wisdom, and both the Incas and the Aztecs did this, they began to use children. This is where it gets disturbing. The thought was that children were more innocent and more pure than these prisoners of war would be, and that the gods would be much more receptive to accepting the sacrifice of a child than they were of these tainted prisoners of war. Eventually, as it moved forward and the children that were being sacrificed were not stopping these events from happening, these natural occurrences from happening, the Incas decided that the children that they were sacrificing were not pure enough. And so they started raising children specifically for the sole purpose of being sacrificed to the gods. The children had to remain physically healthy. They were well fed. They were treated well up until their death. And I won't say that next sentence because that's just not right. So before their final sacrifice, they'd be given a giant feast and a meeting with the emperor, and then they would be executed. Now, as we all know, raising children to be sacrificed is appalling, number one. And number two, it did not stop the earthquakes, floods, and volcanic eruptions from happening. So they were left in kind of a preponderance of what the hell to do next. And they never figured it out. And where do you go from raising children as livestock and sacrificing them? I think at that point, you pretty much have run out of options.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say.
I think it's fair to say. I think eventually somebody actually woke up and said, you know, this whole raising kids like farm animals thing's probably not working either. We should just maybe just live with the occasional earthquake, live with the occasional flood, and just move on with our lives and stop sacrificing, everybody in our town, and these kids. That's the Incas. The Aztecs went much deeper than that. They were considered to be the most bloodthirsty people that ever walked on the planet Earth as far as sacrificing things. Their belief was their primary god represented the sun, and I'm not even going to try to butcher the name of their god. But they believed that the sun was a life force and that human beings were a life force. And so therefore, the way to continue the sun as a life force would be to continually feed it. And so they themselves also got into the practice of human sacrifice. Again, prisoners of war were kind of the first people to go. And then it became more and more and more into women and, men of the tribe, and then women of the tribe, and then children of the tribe. So without getting into any of the gory details, because it's really it is kind of get disturbing. I just want to point this out. So in ancient text, it is reported that the Aztecs once sacrificed 80,400 prisoners in 4 days. And that's written in their ancient text. When they did this, they actually built a wall around an encampment made out of human skulls. Another great move. So if the number is accurate, it could be assumed that the Aztecs at that time were sacrificing hundreds of thousands of individuals each year for the sake of the sun, which I believe it probably happened. I believe that obviously there were people that were the priests of that time that were misled and misguided, and a lot of people died. Now, here's the reason I bring that up, because it is kind of disturbing, but we're going to turn it into a positive. Because I asked Mike this, I said, don't you think that in a situation like that, where you've got tens of thousands of people, potentially hundreds of thousands of people being taken to an altar and being slaughtered and releasing their energy in this, because we talk about this all the time, right? You release a massive burst of energy, whether it's pain, whether it's hate, whether it's murder, if it's love, if it's whatever it is, you release a tremendous amount of energy. That energy has the potential to stain that location, to mark that location, and that energy stays. If you're sacrificing hundreds of thousands of people, and the way they did it is they would make them walk up the flight of stairs, which was a couple hundred stairs up to the top of this temple. They would walk up there, the priest would meet them, and they would slit them from their throat to their pelvis, and then they would kick them back down the side of the temple. So basically, everything would come flying up. As I'm, you're envisioning that energy release has got to be tremendous. Like, those people that are dying are giving out incredible amount of energy. That has to stain a location. So does that possibly make these ancient Mayan and Aztec and Inca ruins some of the most haunted places on the planet Earth?
Yes, sir.
And I would think, right. I would think so, right? I mean, I would think that if you could get to some of these locations and you could set up, because I looked it up, and I found one thing that if we got time, we'll talk about, but it's interesting that from a paranormal investigation standpoint, why aren't teams going to these locations and getting solid paranormal evidence? I would be.
Probably because a lot of these ruins are in the middle of the Amazon.
Well, being is that they're farming a tenth of the Amazon a day. I don't think it's that difficult to get to one of these ruins. You can go on tours, eco tours, that take you to these ancient ruins that they've discovered. A couple $100 and you jump in a Jeep and you go with your buddies and you tour guide, and they drive you up to the thing and you walk up a couple flights of stairs. I mean, I'm just saying they're available. These locations are available. I throw this out to the general paranormal investigation segment of the world. Why is there not more evidence gathering going on at locations like that?
Probably because, for the most part, yes, I know that there are paranormal teams all over the world, but there are no Incan, Maya, and Aztec ruins in the United States.
No.
So a whole paranormal team would not only have to get permission to investigate, which I doubt they would. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that it is. You spend $1,500 like the Waverly, and you get to investigate. You would have to also take your entire team and all this equipment to Mexico or anywhere in South America,
right,
in order to do so.
Right.
So not only is that a humongous financial undertaking, which could really only be done by TV shows.
Correct. I'm not thinking like you and I are going to go do this. I'm talking bigger. People that have financial backing.
Yeah.
In place.
I think it's probably safety. I think it's
there are a lot of like venomous spiders and snakes and scorpions and stuff in South America.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want to investigate in that in the dark?
I do.
You would be the only one.
No, I wouldn't be. I would go. I'm not walking up 100 stairs. I can tell you that.
No, you can barely walk up 10.
I can't. Yeah, I was going to say I'd be lucky to make one stair and probably fall and be bleeding all over the damn rock.
Well, there you go. We just had a sacrifice.
There would be. Right. Here's my donation, right? Here's a pint from Dave. Let's see what happens.
That's right.
Place would probably come to life.
Yeah. Your blood would flow through the little crevices, and the whole
spark
thing
something. Next thing you know,
would light up, and all of a sudden Zool would come back to kill us all.
Great. Yeah, that'd be great.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. Great idea you had on the show the other night, destroying all of South America by an ancient god. Smooth move, man.
Smooth move, Dave.
Oh my God. Yeah. All right. So anyway, moving on from those guys, they were bad.
They were bad people.
They were bad people. They took human sacrifice way too seriously.
So
and it didn't. And you would think after like 80,000 and nothing changed, you could probably just take a break, right?
Right. So one of the things that I actually looked up, which goes right along with the fattening of the children and sacrificing them, was the whole like Hollywood concept of throwing a virgin into the volcano.
Yes.
And so I wanted to look up to see if there was actually any. Well, I stumbled upon this while I was looking to see if any sacrifices had been done about throwing people into the volcano or a volcano. So apparently, volcanoes suitable for throwing women into, for the most part, don't exist. So, dang it. I guess there goes that. But there is, and the author of this piece that I read wrote the whole thing sarcastically, and it was hilarious to read. But he was talking about how lava doesn't just like spew up, like you said. I mean, obviously there are a couple volcanoes around the world that do that. And those are the ones. Yeah. Those are the active ones. Yeah, those are the ones you see on the news that when they explode.
Yep.
But usually, a volcano, just spews lava and it runs down, the flattened earth and whatever until it cools. But he wrote down, he's like, so I guess you could shove somebody into the lava who would then get incinerated. I mean, if you wanted to. But does that answer the question of, do people get sacrificed to volcanoes? And that is actually, as you pointed out, 100% true. So they have discovered mummified children on slopes of volcanoes. Mm-hmm. There was a girl who was discovered on Mount Apatu in Peru in 1995. There's 2 girls and a boy. I can't even pronounce this. It starts with an L and has like 6 more L's in it.
And 1 vowel.
Yeah.
And it's 22 letters.
Lualacuacuaco in Argentina. La 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 in Argentina.
You nailed it.
Thank you very much. In 1995, I mean, and this goes right along with what you just said. The victims, age 6 to adulthood, they were well dressed, they were nourished, suggesting that they had been fattened up for the slaughter.
Yeah, that's just disturbing.
Yeah, but were they virgins? Who knows? I would hope the children probably would be.
God, you would hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, these things have been found all around the world. So, I mean, yeah, it's.
So here's the $20,000 pyramid question. Is the practice of human sacrifice still occurring in modern society?
In some ways, yes. Not obviously in this area.
Yeah, no, in Minnesota, we're not doing human sacrifice in Minnesota, as far as I know.
Right.
I have not heard of any type of human sacrifice discoveries here in Minnesota.
Like I would think that in the far reaches of civilization that really haven't been touched in 1,000 years. I mean, they still have tribes who.
There's tribes in the Amazon that they discover. I'm not going to say daily because it's not daily, but it's frequent now.
Yeah, exactly.
Where they're like, who are these people? Right. And they're still headhunters. Like some of those people are still headhunters.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there was the guy, 2, 3, 4 years ago or whatever, wanted to go and teach Christianity to this tribe that was like, nobody comes on our land. And sure enough, they killed him.
Yep. And ate him.
They ate him.
Yeah.
Well, that's swell.
Well, that's the big thing though, like between tribes when they're warring in the Amazon. And this is going way back in time when I did a ton of research on it, is that it was believed for those guys in particular, it was believed that if you consumed the heart of your opponent, that you obtained his bravery. And so his bravery coupled with your bravery, like made you like a super soldier in their minds. That's what they thought anyway. Same thing with eating their brains. They thought that, if you open up the skull, eat their brains, that you're consuming their wisdom, and basically their wisdom is getting added to your wisdom. So now you're like super smart.
So like Highlander.
Of course, none of that happened, but that's the thought process behind that.
Neither did Highlander.
No, right. You're right.
So with the few minutes that we have left, let's switch gears to magic.
Okay. All right. Magic. So I found a lot of. So here's what I'm going to say about blood and magic. Every article that I've seen says we're not using blood anymore in magic. Okay, right. So they go back again. This site's talking about how blood goes back to the ancient, Aztec shamans, blah blah blah. We've already talked about that. So, and they're like, yeah, and then blood is special. It's got this special purpose. It's always had this special thing, this unique property in human existence all the way from the beginning of time. Even going into things like business deals back in the day were signed in blood brothers, signing blood oaths, all this stuff, right? So I get it. Some of those things actually did use human blood. Some of those things, it was a metaphor. They weren't really using human blood, but they were signing like blood contracts, meaning basically, that this contract is signed with like an unbreakable type of bond, that like this thing is going to get served and completed, whether it's you or whether it's one of your kids or your wife or whatever the case might be, that this, that the person who has this bond with you is going to get whatever the deal was. And so they try to really run away from the fact that it's still being used today. Although I did find a quick article that said that there are individuals who are still using blood magic for reasons such as protection, health and wellness, power, oath, and even as an act of maintaining certain traditional practices, which are passed on from one generation to another. And I love this one, and I'm throwing this line in there. And all this has entirely nothing to do with Satanism, evil, or the devil. It could just be narrowed down to belief systems, as it is widely thought to possess great mythical powers which could be activated when used with the right magic spells and incantations. And I thought, okay, that's cool, right? And then right below that, and I'm not going to name the site, is but you can sign up for VIP spellcasting services, and of course, working with demons, and then how to curse people with dark magic. So they say that they're not using blood magic for any, that it's not even being used anymore. And then right below that, they're offering these courses and using blood to do negative things. So is it still practiced today? Yeah, I think it is. Is it practiced as frequently as it was with the Aztecs and the Incas? No. No. But are they still using blood and magic? I think in black magic they do, certainly. I know that like in hoodoo and voodoo and stuff like that, they sacrifice chickens. That's hugely popular. You know, they're sacrificing chickens and chicken blood and all the time. And that's still practice. If you go down to Louisiana today, you can find that practice is still happening frequently for the people that practice that type of religion.
And I wouldn't be surprised at all if, you know, people aren't like slicing their hand open and, you know,
right,
you know, using
throwing it, putting it in a chalice with herbs and other stuff, you know, and then making that some type of potion to make something happen, whether it's to curse somebody or whether it's to gain power or gain wealth, or whatever the case might be.
I mean, that's not necessarily a sacrifice because you're not killing yourself.
No, but it's it's blood use and magic, and that's where we are now.
Right. Yes.
With this last couple minutes, I mean, as we transition, right? It's not a sacrifice, but it is using blood in the course of using magic, which in turn is used for either personal gain or harm to somebody else if you're using dark magic. Because really, that's the whole purpose of dark magic.
Right. And you got to have something that is so specifically either you or the target or both, right, in order to focus whatever you're trying to do on that person.
Right. Which would be something like hair, blood, fingernails, right? Something that contains DNA, you know, and is part of that person's body. I would think it might be hard to obtain blood, but you never know. Maybe not.
Well, yeah. I mean, all you have to do is, you know, go to a Red Cross, you know, donation
and raid the back room.
Yeah, and you know,
well, hopefully they don't put your name on the bag.
And find all of the modern Satanists who are donating their blood.
Yeah, and then just be like, okay, I'll take lot 5. We'll take these bags.
I'll take O negative neat.
Oh my God! On that note,
yeah.
Before we get into vampirism, we should probably wrap it up.
Yes, indeed. So I hope you guys learned everything today. You know, speaking of a quick sacrifice, is something that I really didn't know and found out from Scott during Lent. Everybody gives up, you know, meat on Fridays, mm-hmm. you know, or whatever. But apparently, people have been getting that wrong for years, maybe even centuries, because according to Scott, who is, you know, very well versed in religious studies. Yep. Yeah, religious studies. It's red meat. Like you can still eat chicken.
You can still eat fish. Yeah. You
can eat fish. You can eat chicken too. It's red meat because it deals with the blood. And when you
I could see that because, you know, when Lent, they have like fish fries are super popular.
Well, sure, fish, sure. But,
right.
You know, but people are just giving up meat. You know, they've given up chicken. They've given up pork. They've given up, you know, beef, obviously.
Well, beef, right. Yeah. Because beef is red. So.
Yeah.
So you can't have your favorite cheeseburger unless it's plant-based.
Or
and then it wouldn't be your favorite cheeseburger anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's plant-based.
Or
because that's not even a cheeseburger.
Or you can because you just don't care about Lent.
Okay, right. Or you could because you're not willing to make a sacrifice. So therefore, you can have your favorite cheeseburger.
Thank you
with bacon.
And on that note, Yes. So we will be back next week with one of our most favorite people in the world, Mr. Ken Boggle. He will be joining us. We don't know if it's only for the first, or only for an hour or 2 hours, but he's got an exciting announcement, and I do believe we're going to talk him into giving Dave and I both a reading from the tarot cards.
Nice.
So we'll be back next week with another brand new episode. Again, anybody who wants to reach out to us with a question or story, OdysseyFilesRadio@gmail.com. We'll see you again next week. Everyone stay healthy, stay safe.